Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over some things with you as far as your week 4 paper. Just some general feedback for everyone. Really, it's not. Just kind of want to. You're going to look at your papers, and some of you are going to wonder what why am I getting this grade? Because the feedback tells you, I wanted more detail, but. Specifically with the case that you were given, the Penn State case, what you needed to do is talk about some of the theories in the text, and some students kind of were really vague about that. I was looking for things like, was there anyone operating from the utilitarianistic perspective, or the consequentialist perspective, or the deontological perspective? That's what I wanted to see. So if you didn't use that language specifically, then you probably lost some points. So I just wanted to be clear as to what I was looking for. Before the paper, I was vague about it because I wanted you to look and kind of, I don't want to tell you to use that because then I'm kind of giving you too much information. I wanted you to mine that out for yourself and apply it to the case. So, having said that, some of you did very well. Most of you did very well, actually. And the only thing is errors in APA format. So I'm going to go over those for you and just kind of feel free to jot things down as I'm speaking, if you would like. I need to create a checklist. I just haven't done it yet. And to put in the classroom. Just, but, there might actually be something on the, this is the OWL at Purdue site. It's obviously Purdue University, but it's a great site. I've used it many times myself. And so I'm going to kind of talk about some of the errors that I noticed overall. Let me see. I just lost my page. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You can see there's an APA sample paper. I recommend you use this as a guide when you're writing your papers. I'm looking for the title area here. I don't necessarily care at this level for an author note, but I do want an abstract. You can see that here. This is kind of big. It's hurt my eyeballs. Straining my eyes. I don't know why, but when it's too big, it bothers me. Who knows? I thought it would be the opposite. Anyway, okay, so we're going to go through this. And you can see it has a page number here on the upper right-hand corner. You have a running header. You have headings. So you've got they come into, they're like the first degree heading, and then you've got the subheadings here. Literature review. So that's kind of how that's actually how you should divide your paper in sections like that. Now you can see here there are many ways to cite within the text. For example, you could write a whole sentence out and cite it at the very end, and this is the format for citing at the end. Within parentheses, author's last name, comma, date. Or you can lead into your sentence with your source. Here, the entire citation is not in parentheses, just the year. So you have the author's last name, the year, and reviewed or stated or examined or suggested. Those are the lead-ins to, the source material that you're using. So, I like to use that a lot. I like to break it up. I don't like to write, okay, here's what I found from this source, and then the citation at the end, and then the next paragraph, and the next paragraph, or the next sentence. I don't like to do it that way. I like to mix it up. It helps the flow of the paper. Margins need to be an inch on each side, and at the top and bottom. I do use I would like to see running heads. I would like for you to practice your APA and do it the right way. I do This is one of those things that does take practice. The more you practice, the better you get. And if any of you are going to graduate school, you're going to want to know how to format your papers properly, because that's going to be expected coming in. And most of you are doing, I mean, I'm just talking about, you know, tweaking it a little bit, your format, that's all. And most of you are almost there or near perfect. I don't want you to sit out there and think, well, what am I doing wrong? But I don't generally mark up papers that, you know, if I see a paper that's just really hard and difficult to read and just, you know, organized poorly, then I will, but for small little errors in APA, I don't. That's why I'm making this video. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on. So what I want you to take from this is make sure that you're following this format for in-text citations. Make sure your margins are correct. Use running heads, excuse me, which is this top part here. Again, right up here. Use page numbers on the upper right-hand corner. Use subheadings, you know, headings and subheadings, is what I should say. You know, you can find this paper at the Al at Purdue site. It's available. I would absolutely, I would make sure to, maybe if you could download this, and, you know, whenever you're like, oh, I'm not really sure about this, go and reference this. Use this as a reference. And you can see what we have here is the main header, right, or the running head, and the main header here, the title of the paper right up here at the top. Then there's a subheading, and there's a subheading. But even within subheadings, you have even, you know, more headings. And once you get lower than, like, once you get to the point where you are, let me go all the way down here, level 2 heading. So it's the main heading, level 1, and then level 2. I'm not good with the names with these, but then you see how they're left justified, right? So that's one thing you want to consider if you've got a level 2 heading. It needs to be left justified. Okay, so we're just moving along, and really, then we're getting to the reference list. In the reference list, you don't use works cited in APA format. Works cited is actually used in MLA format, which is used in kind of your humanities, your English courses. APA is used in psychology courses and business courses. I'm sorry, I should say social sciences, excuse me, and business courses, because it's used in sociology and communications as well. So those kind of courses will always use APA format. Humanities and Literature is MLA. And a lot of times what I will see is, and it can get confusing, especially if you are taking, you know, mixing up your classes. You're taking electives, you're taking a humanities or English here, and I don't know, you know, this class or another business class there. And a lot of students will come in and mix them up. So they're separate formats. They're different. They have similarities. But you want to be consistent with the APA. So center the title references. Don't use sources, the word sources or bibliography either. It's references. The formatting, the indentions are different. These are called hanging indents. The first line and each subsequent line of a source, the first line is not indented. The second line and each subsequent line of that source, you can see this has 2 lines, for example, will be indented. If that had 3 or 4 or 5, it would still be they would be indented. Only the first line of the source is not indented. Also, many students will try and they'll single space the source, then double space between. That's not correct. You double space between each line, even within the sources. That's the correct format. For the 6th edition, we do not use retrieval dates unless there's not a publication date. You might find a source you really want to use and it does not have a publication date. In that case, in this parentheses, you would write a small n period, and then a small d, and then another period. And then it would be parentheses period. That would be no date, I believe. I think that's what it stands for. But that's where it would go. In the reference list and within the body of the paper. If there is no date, you can have a retrieval date. But if there's no publication date, you can have a retrieval date in here. But if there is a publication date, there is no retrieval date needed. If you're using, and that's for if you're using online sources. I just automatically assume everybody is, which I shouldn't. But a lot of times, but that's kind of the most common thing I see. So I wanted to go ahead and address that. Reference lists should always be on a separate paper. It should never continue from the body of the paper. Let's see what else. Oh, let's see. Journal titles and book titles should be italicized, but nothing. Article titles should not. So if you're going to a website, for example, and you find some information there, you would not italicize the article. If you went to Forbes.com or BusinessWeek.com, you would, in the citation, you would include the author, the year, the title, and then the publication, which would be italicized. And then you would go ahead with the retrieved from. But the title of, a lot of people will always italicize the title, and that's not correct. It's very specific as to when you do and when you don't. And that actually is covered on this site. Make sure, this OWL at Purdue site, it has the sample paper, but it also has sections for each kind of source that you could have. So I would recommend you research that site and look at the different examples. Actually, we might just go ahead and do that now. But for the most part, whoops. Yeah. And they even have, if you decide to use an appendix or something, there's even formatting for that, which is great. It's a great site. But you see what I mean here on this side. General format, in-text citations, it talks about that. The reference list rules. And then it talks about what's the reference list? Look for books, other print sources, electronic sources. And there's even media and all that, the graphs and stuff in there too. So, okay, well that's really all. Also proofread for missing commas, grammar, passive voice, punctuation, or I just said comma. I'm missing some sentence structure, incomplete sentences, using the wrong words like effect versus affect. Affect, it's affect, not affect. There and all that, stuff that seems like common sense, but it's easy to miss when you're in a hurry. So that's really all. I just kind of wanted to give you some pointers on what I notice. I grade lots of papers, and it usually kind of the same pattern emerges. And I know it's because we're all so busy in life and there's never enough time in the day. But if you're really looking to, maximize your grade and catch those errors, hopefully this will help you. So there's also a presentation in here that you can use. Oh, and there's also an area about headings and seriation. I would take a look at that because I talked about headings on the paper. But it kind of gives you a guideline as to how to format those, which I think this chart here is very helpful in that. I just like to get you used to maybe kind of using those headings. You don't have these huge papers to do, and a lot of time that's kind of, these headings are really, they come into play when you're writing, I don't know, I wrote a 200-page dissertation and I needed to know how to do this because I had so many sections in my paper, and you're not going to have that many. But it's good practice. It's good to know about. So please try to kind of incorporate headings to kind of give your paper a good structure and foundation and organization. I'm just trying to make you, be the best writers you can be as far as formatting. So any questions or concerns, let me know. Overall, the grades were very good on the papers. The only issue was that there were some students really just not addressing some of the key concepts in the book, but addressing other concepts effectively. And the difference between an A paper and a pretty good paper was really more about, some students were writing more about the case as far as the history and what happened, but I needed the application of the ethical concepts to the case, not just kind of a recap. So there were some issues there, but there was only a few. Most students did very well. So I just wanted to, and that's great. This class seems very engaged, and I'm really enjoying it. I hope you are too. So anyway, any questions or concerns, let me know, and have a great week.